So I'm going to prepare this roughly 2-inch blank by 7-inch to be turned, and it's going to be held in these one-way 4-jaw chuck that has the profile, the 2-inch profile jaws. So I usually bandsaw my blanks, and they're rarely perfectly square. But even if they were, I'm not a fan necessarily of opening up the jaws and seating a square piece of stock, especially if it's over 1 inch. If it's 1 inch or 1.5 inches and I'm doing finials with the different jaws, I'll do that occasionally. But generally, if they're a larger blank, I'd like to get a real good grip with the 4-jaw chucks, and I find the one-way profile are excellent. But they do have a wider gripping than the dovetail jaws, but I still like to get them in about their optimum gripping. In this case, this side of this blank is about 1 3/4 of an inch, and that's what that ends up being. So first thing then, in this case, find the blank around 1 3/4 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this between centers, get a nice tenon on this so it seats in here. One of the issues with if it was a square piece that you're going to mount into the 4-jaw chuck, even if it's nice and square, you will have some ability of the blank not to move because it might seat down below here. But I think a preferred method, for me at least, is to create a nice shoulder. So not only does these parts of the jaws grip on the tenon, that in this case is parallel, they're not dovetailed, but it's parallel sided, and then they get gripped obviously by the profile parts of these jaws. But almost as importantly, or maybe as important, is that shoulder is now going to be resting on the face of these jaws, and that'll stop any movement this way. It'll support it much better than not having a shoulder. Okay, a couple of other quick things. Generally, I don't bother being too careful drawing diagonals. If I was doing, stair parts or legs for stools or chairs, I would be more accurate if I was doing any kind of a pommel work where you have an element of the spindle is going to be square. But for so many of these things, especially the one-off stuff that I do a lot of, I'll just roughly find the center. And don't go crazy with your awl making a giant divot here. You don't have to make much, partly because the point that comes out of your tail center, your live center, isn't that large. If you get carried away and make this too big, it won't seat in there accurately. So I just make, by eye, a center point here. And here. I'm trying not to block the camera. And I can see right off the bat that's off a bit. So I'll come in and readjust it. This will be the side that'll be going up against either a safety drive, or in this case I use a spur drive.